You are never too young to lead, and you should never doubt your capacity to triumph where others have not. These words by Kofi Annan remind us that leadership is not defined by age, titles, or positions. It is about having the courage to serve, stand for what is right, and believe that our actions can create meaningful change. Throughout his life, Kofi Annan showed us that leadership is about putting people at the center, building bridges, and strengthening the systems that allow communities to thrive. His legacy continues to inspire a new generation of leaders who believe that democracy is not just about institutions, but about people having a voice in shaping their future. And that brings us to today's conversation. Munashe, you have been named one of the top 10 finalists globally for the Kofi Annan NextGen Democracy Prize 2026. What does this moment mean to you?
So, thank you very much, Monotida, for coming through to lead forward with Masiyiwa and for driving this conversation. I think it means, a lot. There are some moments in life that you always remember, being recognized at such, international level. As Kofi Annan was one of, the people that inspired me to be able to drive the change that we're doing with Youth Accountability Initiative, knowing that he said, it's never too young for you as a young person to lead and to triumph where others have not. This has always resonated with me to say, as young people, we should always keep on doing the work that matters. And being recognized as such, a level, a former UN Secretary General, it's something that, you always think about to say, is it really me doing this? But what it does to the individuals, it uplifts the courage, it uplifts, the moment and the zeal to keep on driving change within the, the spheres, that we operate in. But it's also about understanding that when you are recognized at this particular level, there is responsibility that comes with that. The responsibility to lead by example, the responsibility to keep on doing the work that we have been recognized for. And knowing that when you're recognized doesn't mean that they're perfect in what you're doing. The need to keep growing the self, the need to keep on trying to acquire more skills, acquire more leadership, prowess, in terms of the work that we do. Because we understand that leadership is a construction site of renewal. We need to always renew ourselves. So this is just a stepping stone towards something that is greater, something that is bigger. To be able to inspire, the African young people to be able to lead change in their own communities.
Let us take you back to that moment when you received the email from the Kofi Annan Foundation, the Democracy and Culture Foundation, and One Young World, informing you that you had been shortlisted as a finalist. What was your immediate reaction when you saw those words?
The moment I received the email to say we have been, selected as one of the 10 finalists in the world, I was on my way going to a meeting, and I was just thinking around that time what to do next in terms of driving the organization. And the reaction that, came after that was a deep sense of purpose, a deep sense of appreciation to say, at least the work that we are doing, someone is watching. At least the work that we are doing, someone is saying, continue doing this. You don't know sometimes how the work that we do takes a lot from you in terms of even your social life, in terms of the things that you do, because it's an everyday thing. Wherever you are, you're thinking about how can I make an organization as big enough to be able to accommodate, more young people. Young people are reaching out to you to say, how can we get involved? You're inspiring us in terms of doing this, but, sometimes at the individual level, we are being drained, at the individual level, you're feeling that, because after all, we are all humans. Sometimes you get tired of the actual work that you'll be doing. But when you, receive these things, they uplift, the spirit. When I received that email, it was, something else. Then I just said, I think it's high time that we should keep on doing what we are doing, expand it more. This international recognition, let us be able to structure it within the institution, and to, to remember that it's not out of my own volition or my own brilliance. When I received the email, I started thinking about, the people that have made me who I am today. You talk of the I team, we talk of you, we talk of Tandy, Kutsrai, Desh and Alice, people who have been, working, with us together to be able to move this forward. So my first reaction was actually to send into Yai group to share with you, to say, no, this actual thing has been made possible because of the work that we have been doing. And after that, I started, there is a moment that I was always looking forward to, how Kofi Annan was elected. I think it was past 2 or 3 years, but I never knew that, one day I will be, my name will be part and parcel of this such a big and, momentous thing of the Kofi Annan Foundation.
Congratulations, Budashi, on the award. We're also really inspired seeing people who've been working with you and seeing the impact you've been doing in the community. And we really hope all of the people outside that are seeing this are also as inspired. This brings me to my next question. This prize carries the name of one of the world's most respected leaders, Kofi Annan, whose life was dedicated to peace, democracy, and making institutions work for people. As a young person, what does it mean to have your work recognized within that legacy?
Kofi Annan was one of, the inspiring, leaders within the African continent, in terms of the way that he spoke, in terms of the content of what he also spoke. I would always follow his speeches at One Young World Summit, and my work being recognized in that frame of history, in that frame of legacy, says a lot to what I need to do now, or what we need to do now, as young people, to be able to make sure that the work that he championed for, the work of democracy, the work of peace, the work of development within the African continent, to say we are rich, as far as natural resources are concerned, but are we able to translate that in the material benefits that communities where these resources spring from, communities and countries where these resources are seeing real development in terms of roads, in terms of hospitals, in terms of, the things that, would want to see as an African continent. And also Kofi Annan was big on issues to do with the system. When we talk of systems, we should be able to know that when power is not checked, when power is no checks and balances, when there is no accountability when it comes to power, power can actually be corrupt, abusive, power can actually be corrosive in terms of how it deals with a nation. That's why you see, some other nations in Africa, whereby, when people get into politics, they suddenly become pregnant, with big bellies, but filled with the money that is coming from state coffers. So Kofi Annan was big on that, and it gives me a responsibility, and the responsibility of us as young people, to make sure that we are high on those standards of democracy, high on those standards of peace, high on those standards of African development, but high on those standards of personal leadership as far as young people are concerned, because that's only how we can be able to change this world, how we can be able to change the African, continent. We might not be able to change the thought process of every leader within the African continent, but if it starts with us being able to derive forward, we can be able to drive something as individuals, shedding a simple light, sharing the light we all carry in terms of the work that we are doing. So more responsibilities has come, responsibility to keep on inspiring, responsibilities to keep on doing the work, but responsibilities to be accountable to myself, to say, am I actually doing the things that are in line with one of these great leaders in the African continent.
I like the part when you talked about letting your light shine, because as you let your own light shine, you unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. And also when you talked about accountability, because the organization on its own is preaching about accountability and making sure every young person understands what it is, what it means, and who to hold accountable. I'm now going to move on to our last question, and that is, as part of this journey, you will now have the opportunity to attend the One Young World Summit 2026 in Cape Town. I think that is very huge, bringing together young leaders from across the globe. What are you looking forward to most about that experience, and what message do you hope to carry from Zimbabwe to the world?
So, One Young World Summit is one of the biggest. Kofi Annan would say this is a youth UN, United Nations, but you jokefully said, hakuna jokefully, hakuna sakada. Hakuna zinonzi jokefully. Hakuna. So that's fine. Sakata kuitaka? I know, don't worry. Nogonopa uyakutora.
Not too long, 1 minute or less.
So, attending, the One Young World Summit is one of the biggest things on, the, international platforms. And Kofi Annan would, sometimes say that this is like a young UN, but only with more power than the UN, because, there are some things that the UN was not, able to do at that moment because of the Security Council and this and that. But it showed, how big that platform was in terms of driving, developmental agendas of young people at international level. Because, we have former presidents, former UN directors coming through, and it's a moment whereby, I need to go and mainstream the African story. What's that African story? It's a story whereby, young people are born in a continent where there are no strong systems that can be able to protect, the natural resources for the betterment of schools, for the betterment of hospitals, for the, betterment of our future. And it's a continent where at this particular contemporary point in time, there is to do with critical minerals, which is not storing value, which is not adding value, which is not also being able to be at the forefront of deciding what is critical to the world and how Africa can internally benefit from it. So these are the discourses that we'll carry forward to the summit and see how we can be able to locate young people in terms of opportunities, locate young people so that we move away from being an object of charity or a case of charity in this, broader canvas of development in the world, to be those who are be able to write down and be the masters of their own destiny and their future. So I think these are the things that I will carry forward, and hopefully, and I should also be able to carry forward, the Youth Accountability Initiative itself, to say that, we are playing just a little within this society in terms of trying to drive change. There is more that needs to be done. It can be done by other organizations. It can be done by other young people. How can we start to make sure that these platforms are accessible to all? How can we make sure that the Kofi Annan Foundation itself is accessible to people in Zimbabwe, it's accessible to the general people, so it doesn't become me just being known that I've been part and parcel of this prestigious foundation and legacy of Kofi Annan. How I can be able to take forward, the lessons, the networks, that I will get from the summit to be able to empower other young people that are, here in Zimbabwe. One thing that Denzel Washington once shared is the most selfish thing that you can do in this world is to help somebody else. But the gratification you get from that, it's only you who can enjoy that. And I would want, that to be able to make sure that I go to the summit, but not as an individual, but representing interest and a group of young people that are saying we should change the way that we are running our means. We should change the way that we are running, our natural resources, and we should change the way how our leaders are treating the people who give them the power itself that they utilize.
I think the society with young people is very fortunate to have people like you to learn from and to also get inspired by. I would have loved to attend the One Young World Summit. And I think it's a very big opportunity, not only for you, but for the organization, because you are taking it with you, and also for every other young person in Africa, Zimbabwe practically, watching and also learning from you. To close off, what do you have to say to the young people that are watching? Any inspirational message to them? Anything?
Thank you very much for hosting me here, and for this platform for us to be able to discuss about the issues of young people. And in closing, I think I derive what Barack Obama observed when he said, we have a stake in one another, and what binds us together is greater than what drives us apart. And anchored on this premise, it's how I try to operate as an individual, to say I do not only have a responsibility to myself to say, yes, Menashe Masiyiwa has managed to complete, a degree, managed to complete this course. Menashe Masiyiwa has been named the Kofi Annan, this and that. But it's about, what binds us together as community, as a people, as a society. And what is that? Are the things that should be provided for us by the government, be it opportunities, be it good infrastructure, be it transport, be it healthcare, be it education that responds to the contemporary needs of the time. And this is what drives me to be able to do something that is fulfilling, to know that I have helped this generation, I have helped this particular group of people. And I can only do, as I always say, I can only do as little as, things that should be done in this world. And it's time for the young people listening to take up the role, to take up the leadership role, for them to be able to drive change in their communities, be it entrepreneurship, be it civil society, be it within the government, because we also need young people that are, progressive, be it politicians, be it whatsoever you are as a young person, derive change in your communities. That's the only way that we can be able to make Africa develop. Let's question power, but beyond that, let's provide platforms for young people to thrive.
Thank you so much, Menashe, for the insightful conversation and the powerful message. We really look forward to seeing you at the summit, to see what you carry on behalf of Zimbabwe to the rest of the world, and what you bring back for us on behalf of the rest of the world. And to our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in to Lead Forward with Masiyiwa. Remember to follow up on our conversations where we talk about leadership and accountability, and to also follow up on everything that the Youth Accountability Initiative does. See you next time.